Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast. As always, presented by our good friends over at ScentLock. Guys, it's deer season, the greatest time of year. And I'll tell you what really sets ScentLock apart for me is the activated carbon for maximum odor absorption. There's a lot of clothes that can keep you warm. There's a lot of clothes that are going to get you into the field and keep you concealed with camouflage. However, not many clothes are made and built to conceal your scent as well as ScentLock's is. So guys, go check out ScentLock. They are, in my opinion, when it comes to whitetail hunting, hands down, the best there is. Guys, I'm joined by a special guest, Mr. Jake Arvold from Phorm Outdoors. We have a fun episode. We talk about Jake's start into hunting, which started at a young age. And let me just tell you, he shares one of the greatest stories I've ever heard of a dad getting his boy on an elk hunt. It was really funny, but also really good parenting. It's a fun episode. We talk about just kind of the importance for us about working out and staying healthy, but also about how you don't have to be 10% body fat to kill deer. You don't have to hate your life because of eating nothing but broccoli and chicken. You can have fun, eat a lot of good food, go out and have fun with friends, do a lot of fun stuff, and still live a healthy lifestyle. So guys, it's a fun episode. We talk about his most recent elk hunt, which involves some neutral friends of ours. There's some good stories shared, some lessons learned from the mountain. It's a fun episode, so stay tuned in right here.
Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
Guys, if you run any kind of supplement for your deer, which you absolutely should, there are things that deer need. And I have found that when I run supplements for my deer, it keeps them on my property so they don't go wandering off onto other properties looking for that thing that they're needing. And so I have just dove fully into running minerals and protein for my deer all year long. Bourbon does supplements and attractants really, really well. Whether you're looking for a long-range attractant like the 110 proof, or whether you're looking for a feed that you can run all year long in a feeder, or even just on the ground in their barrel proof, Bourbon has what you need. I can tell you story after story of going onto a new 500-acre piece, dumping out some long-range attractant, and deer just coming into it. Guys, it will make a difference in the way that you see your deer come in. So, guys, I would highly encourage you to check out Bourbon. You can use code HUNTING101 in all caps to get 15% off. But I would just encourage you, no matter what, to start running some sort of supplement for your deer. It'll have a happier, healthy herd. You'll keep them on your property more, and you can better manage those deer. Guys, go check out Bourbon.
All right, Jake. So before we get too far into this, man, give us an introduction to yourself, dude. What all you do there at Phorm and kind of how you got there.
Heck yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate being here, having me on. If you guys don't know already, my name is Jake Arvold, director of Phorm Outdoors here.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know, yo. Been here at Phorm. September would be September 28th is five years total, which is crazy to think that time has completely flown by like that. Definitely been a whirlwind of time overall. I moved down from a little small town in central Wisconsin, Emerald, Wisconsin. If you know where it is, it's only a town because it had a corner store with one pump and a bar. It's pretty much
if you know where it is, you've been lost before.
Yeah, exactly. You blink, you miss it. That's exactly. You were lost. It's like, this is out of a horror movie. But
more cows than people.
That's a fact, 100% there. But yeah, been down here, St. Louis for 5 years. My wife and I both live down here just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, a few minutes from Phorm headquarters. On a day-to-day basis, my original and core title at headquarters is Legionnaire Coach, and I work with a bunch of Legionnaires external reps within our organization. coaching them and really working with them how to help other people in their communities live a more healthy, fit, active lifestyle, diet, nutrition, supplementation, all those different pieces. I've been with 1st Phorm really as a whole going to be pushing 9 years now. Prior to working down here myself, I actually, when I lived up in Wisconsin, I owned a CrossFit gym up there known as the Machine Shed. I started that really, it's a crazy turn of events, but started that gym because of the CEO, Andy, here at 1st Phorm. He had a podcast back then called the MFCO Project. Now known, really, it's transitioned a little bit, but it's known as the Real AF podcast. But listening to that, I was in college. It was rated #1 entrepreneurship leadership podcast in the nation. And I learned a lot about personal development, about just overall fortitude, like what it takes to go through and run a good business. And I was actually in college listening to that podcast right before I went into what would be known as the last class I ever walked into. I walked in, talked to my professor, Ryan, and said, dude, I appreciate the hell out of you, but this is going to be the last class. I'm here. So after about would have been 6 years of college, because I was doing the most I could do with the least I could do as far as the credit wise. I ended up dropping out of college, going all in on creating my dream and working towards the CrossFit side of things. I fell in love with coaching people. I was never the fit kid. I was always like, I call it like the fat, fluffy bunny boy of Wisconsin. I'd eat 6 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for like a snack. And I was 15 years old wearing size 38 pants. I was not the fit kid. Our workouts were chucking square bales and picking rock. And, later in college, I found CrossFit, got more into fitness due to my brother and a buddy of mine, my younger brother. And, it was just one thing I found a love of being able to go through and really have control over what I ate and also the work that was at hand. And I found out like how much control you actually have over your body and what you're able to do through proper diet, nutrition, and all that. And then being the dyslexic homeschooler, and that's a whole nother conversation. But diving into that piece, like I was definitely the outcast. Yes.
Cart, bro.
Dude, every single one going in. I can keep going. We could hit every single little thing in here. But dude, I look at, I have a special place, I feel like, in my heart for almost kind of like the misfits in the world when it comes into people who don't feel like they belong, people where they feel like kind of outcasts. I didn't have a lot of friends, and it's not a pity card, but didn't have a lot of friends in high school. I wasn't known as the cool kid or anything like that. I was the one who ate lunch by himself. And I know I said homeschooling, like I was homeschooled all the way up, but I went to a homeschool academy once and twice a week. And, I was definitely that shy kid growing up, and getting into CrossFit and just functional training in general and working out. It gave me a lot of personal self-confidence, and I fell in love with coaching people, working with people, and helping them really understand what they're truly capable of. And then it was just one door led to another. As one closed, another one opened. And then years later, I find myself down here at 1st Phorm headquarters. So it's crazy.
See, it's
wild road.
Funny how very opposite stories get you to the same spot. Because I was an athlete in high school and did all sorts of sports and activities, but then you get out of high school and you took advantage of that. And I don't want to say being given to you, but you took advantage of my metabolism and just being young and active. And then you get to college and you look down, you're like, how did I gain 50 pounds? Like, what is going on? And then it's like, then you go through that cycle of like, I got to fix something. Like, something has to change. And for me, it was an elk hunt. I went out to Idaho, got my tail kicked, and I'm like, okay, dude, I am not the same kid I was in high school anymore. Like, this is different. And, I was only 22, but like, I was like, okay, something's got to give. Like, something has to change. And So it's funny how just opposite stories get you to the same spot. But I didn't know you were a CrossFit. Have you ever heard of the CrossFit Diet?
I feel like this is a joke.
Oh, man.
I don't. I feel like this is a joke. Where are we going?
Eat whatever you want. Cross your fingers and hope your pants fit.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah,
I talked about you on a podcast actually not so long ago.
Oh man,
we were doing one of our Cook Wild episodes, which I just was telling you about. And so we work with Chef Mike Castaneda. If you guys haven't tuned into those episodes, it's phenomenal. We work with Chef Mike Castaneda, and we were doing game day foods. Like we were just teaching the listener how to make some game day foods out of wild game. And I do really good on my diet until Saturday. And then it's like, and it's not because it's the weekend and like the kids are home. It's like, it's game day. And like when kickoff hits, like I want to have some wings and some pizza and ice cream and cheesecake. Like I want to feast during games, mainly because Arkansas sucks and I have to find joy in something. So I just feast.
Eating the sorrows.
And I said, if I'm watching a game and my heart doesn't hurt because of what I'm eating, I'm not doing it right. And then I just talked about like how Jake would be so disappointed in me for saying this. So.
Hey, I appreciate the honesty all the way through.
You know, and to really be as transparent as I can. Like so many people think, well, I don't want to be on a diet. Life would be boring. Like have a donut, guys. Like have a piece of pizza. But do it in moderation. Like, and that's where my life really has changed tremendously of like, used to during a game, I was going to eat an entire pizza and the 8-pack of wings. Like now let's just have 2 slices and 5 wings, or let's focus more on the wings because it's still getting protein and then just have a slice of pizza on the side, and so like you can have fun and live a healthy lifestyle. Like it doesn't mean I got to eat broccoli and carrots all the time. Like, dude, you can still enjoy life. So just get 100%. That out of your mind.
Yep. Yeah. With you, it's funny that you go into that piece because that's when I was in college, coming out of high school, going into college. Like definitely, what that freshman 15 is more like freshman 50 in that kind of sense. And you go in, you dive into it. And dude, not only you eat like that, it's this negative compounding effect where it's like you eat to feel good, and then you feel bad that you ate so much, and then it's just boom, 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 and there's a lot of different things that ultimately happen.
And all you do is sit and play Xbox, so you're not doing anything.
My brother and I, we got warned by Netflix. Netflix emailed us and asked us if we were okay because we worked like separate schedules, so it never shut off. Like it was like, I don't think Netflix would ever do this, but they definitely checked in to just see like, are you okay? It was wild.
Well, I'll tell you what was really bad was when you start college, you gain weight. And when you get married, you gain weight. I got married my junior year in college. So it like all compounded into this one big mess, bro. Like it was what happened to your life, dude?
Yep. 100%.
Like I had Dunlap disease. Like my belly Dunlapped over my belt. And I was like, what is this?
Dunlapped.
So,
man, I'm learning all sorts of different. You're giving me all of them. It's freaking awesome. No, but I want like circle back into the elk piece. Like, I started my fitness journey literally when I was in college, as most people, my buddies and I started in the bodybuilding side of it. And we always say like ex-girlfriends build bodybuilders. Well, I went through that whole like bad breakup. I was like, go in bodybuild side of things or the traditional workouts, got into that. And then I missed an elk hunt because I was training for a bodybuilding show. And it was this elk hunt that got dropped on me like last minute. And it's one of those trips that it's like, I'll never let this ever happen again in my life. Right. And I was so many weeks out from the show and it's like, hey, we're going to go. I just couldn't justify going after training and literally changing my life because it was a pivotal point in my life and just my own personal journey and figuring out what I was capable of. And, but after I got done with that show, I was like, cool, that's done. I'm never letting that go through and stop me from doing what I want to do again. Then one of my friends, are actually the gal who trained me for that show and gave me helped me with diet, nutrition, ended up starting a CrossFit gym. And she asked me if I wanted to coach. I was like, whoa, this is back when CrossFit was that's like Anakin going to the dark side kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't do that kind of stuff. And I went and did my first workout, crushed me, destroyed me. And I was I thought I was in shape, right, at that point in time. And in my mind at that moment, I was like, you know what? I love going out west elk hunting. I live a very, active lifestyle in the Midwest. This is what is going to prepare me for this. If I can't go through and, do this little 400-meter lap and come back and do these overhead squats and literally have to break it down to just a barbell, right? It's not going to work. What you thought you were fit, you're not, kind of thing. You might look the piece, but can you actually do the work? And that was kind of the catalyst that started into that piece. And then, of course, starting the gym because of Andy and everything here. It's funny how, like you said, doesn't matter where you're at. What I believe in is you as a kid and as you go through life, people have decisions, they have this overall goal and kind of dream internally within them of what they work towards. And if that goal or that dream is relevant enough, or they have enough belief in themselves, even though they might doubt themselves in moments, there's opportunities that are presented to us every single day. Every single day. It's whether or not you take the door that's opened or you walk past it. Right.
For sure.
And that, I believe, no matter where you're at, ultimately will lead you to where you want to go. And I don't know about you in this sense, but I'm a big believer in the aspect of just the law of attraction. You get back what you put out, and, dive into the sense of faith, and just, there's a lot of different things that ultimately come to fruition when you put those good pieces out into the world. It comes back. And I've seen it happen, right? And different parts of my life and individuals within my life. It's wild.
Absolutely, man. And that, that goes back to kind of about the diet too, where I said, I still enjoy life. And the same is true for working out. I got asked one time, this guy was filming for his fitness YouTube channel, and he says, why do you train? Why do you work out? And I said, simply to hunt. I want to be a better hunter. I want to be a better outdoorsman. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better husband. I just want to do life better. And so if that's my real answer, well, then that means that there will be times I don't get to work out because I'm doing those other things. If I train to hunt, then I'm never going to miss a cold front because, dude, it was leg day, bro. I got to hit the gym. No, I'm going to go hunting. Because the only reason I ever go to the gym in the first place is to hunt more effectively. So why would I? And same true, I'm not going to miss a kid's baseball game because I'm well, sweetheart, I got to hit the gym, no, I do this so I can be a better father. So the same is true about working out. Just because you decide, okay, I want to change my life, I want to live better, I want to be a little more fit, a little more active, a little more disciplined. That doesn't mean you're all of a sudden a robot and it's oh crap, it's 3:00 on Friday, I got to hit legs. That's not how it works. I promise you, when I go on an elk hunt, I'm going to miss a week of working out. When it's November, I'm going to train maybe 5 days in all of November because I'm going to be in a tree. That's just how it goes. And that's not to say too, oh crap, I've fallen down, I messed up, I'm out of the game. Just keep working out. Just get back at it. You missed a week for vacation? It's all right. Get back at it. So guys, I want to take just a second to just say this. I believe in Phorm products. Here's why. I'm tired, and Jake, you don't have to say anything because you might get in trouble if you pitch in here. I'm tired of overpriced garbage supplements just because they're marketed to the outdoors. I'm tired of watered down, crappy supplements, and I'm not going to say any names, but there's a reason I don't use those products because they're overpriced and watered down, and they're just marketed for outdoorsmen. Phorm is a supplement company, and a world-class supplement company, if I might add, making some of the best products. If you walk into a GNC or a supplement giant and ask them, well, which protein should I be using? They're going to mention Phorm because it's a phenomenal product. But they're a phenomenal supplement company that support hunters and are outdoorsmen themselves. So I enjoy First Phorm products. There's a link in the bio of the description of this episode where you can get some First Phorm products for yourself and try them out. If you got any questions about what I use or why, shoot me a message. Message me on Instagram, shoot me an email. My email has been shared on the podcast several times. Shoot me an email, text me, call me, whatever, and I will share with you some of the products I use. Does that link give them a discount?
It doesn't go through, but it's all free shipping over $75 or more. So
perfect.
You guys will get free shipping
money right there. But guys, I promise you, like, you will be happy with, hey, and listen, bro, I'm like a 12-year-old white girl when it comes to that pumpkin spice protein, dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, you should have bought more of them because it's sold out quick.
I hate it. I don't like anything pumpkin spice. But, bro, I will throw down on that. Dude, my friend was making fun of me the other day, and I'm like, you can shut up, dude, because this stuff tastes like fall.
Yeah, wait until peppermint bark comes out around Christmas. So,
oh my gosh,
that shit's fire.
Oh my gosh, my favorite ice cream on planet Earth. My favorite ice cream on planet Earth is peppermint ice cream. I love peppermint ice cream, and I don't know if you've got
Welcome
one,
to the party.
But Ninja Creamies are like a life-saving, the greatest thing ever made on planet Earth.
And
so I will be using
if you go through
in the cream,
dude, make it. We got one. This is my wife and I's relationship to a T. She bought a Ninja Creamy, said it was for me, but she definitely wanted it for herself throughout the pregnancy. And that she just wanted a reason to be able to have ice cream throughout the pregnancy and everything. So
our relationship is this: I freeze it and put it in the freezer. I come home and then she ate it, and I'm like, girl, that was my pumpkin spice
100%.
ice cream.
Yeah.
So click the link in the bio, pick up your First Phorm products. I promise you, you're going to be happy because they are phenomenal products. They're not just some supplement company that brands them and markets them to the outdoors.
I appreciate it, dude. One thing I want to go through and add to that, and just with everyone there, know that, my entire piece of even going through and creating First Phorm Outdoors and bridging the gap into the outdoor space, like really connecting people together, right? I'm a firm believer, like, live a lifestyle allows you to experience more of the outdoors. We're not here to just go through and pass it on, right? Like I look at it as like, we hear that a lot. And that's, from my grandfather to my dad, everyone is like, hey, you got to pass on the outdoor heritage. And that's what I heard a lot. Both my grandfathers are no longer here. One taught me how to hunt. The other one taught me how to fly fish. And, I spent a lot of time with all those individuals. And you'll see, I talk a lot about those different things, just even through my own platforms. And, I look at it, there's a lot of times where both of those individuals that, if we would have traded in some of that water for a little less whiskey, or, go for a 45-minute walk on a day-to-day basis, like I'm a firm believer that one of them would still be here today, and we would be able to go out and have more experiences and really pass on more of the outdoor heritage. Because I'd love to have more of those conversations that, ultimately have been cut too short. And I look at this as like, you can't pass on the outdoor heritage if you're dead. Right. And I love both of those guys. And I know they're looking down. They're looking down on it. And they're smiling. The last words I ever told to one, Grandpa Arvold, like, right there, could hardly go through, move, could hardly talk. And I was just like, I'm going to make you proud. And that's something that always sticks in the back of my head. And I look at, like, what can we do in the outdoor space? It's the products, you guys, they're tools. They're like your stands and your sticks. And I've been to a couple different events where I talk to different people, and people are trying to lighten their load and all this different stuff and, become more efficient hunters. Whether you're going out west or you're in the Midwest, it doesn't matter. But what happens if you go through and lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds? How much more effective or efficient would you be? And one, how many more years are we going to be able to add to this entire heritage piece and the experiences we can have with kids, grandkids, as time goes on? And you tie into the product piece. Like, one, if you guys ever have issues with products in the First Phorm side of things, everything's 110% money back guarantee. Like, if you don't absolutely love it, like to a T, do not love it, we'll go through, take it back, replace it, throw an extra 10% on top of it for the trouble overall. And that's just our piece of, like, we're here to make sure you have the absolute best to help you on your journey. Like your goals are what we care about. And supplements are just there to help fill those gaps that are in there to help you achieve those goals out on you. Now, you think about supplementation itself, like, and just this ecosystem, which you're going through and kind of talking about, is that like all the products are made and manufactured here in St. Louis, Missouri. They're made in an FDA SQF level 3 facility, checked as raw goods coming in and finished products going out. So like if it's on a label, that's exactly what's in there. There's nothing else added. There's nothing else taken out. It's 100% that. And when I think about us coming into the outdoor space, where I've watched my family and friends go through and be bombarded with all this different, just propaganda, lies, false, like just crash diets and all these different like fads, is my hope in coming into this space is I believe in the tide rises all ships. And hopefully with us coming into it, I'm not here to bash any other companies. I know actually I have friends and different people in different companies and organizations out there, but we're here to play ball. And I'm like, as we move into this space, I hope that it goes through and ultimately pushes everyone to just raise to a higher standard overall. So that's just my 2 cents on it. So,
well, I'm glad you mentioned the Midwest.
Yep.
Because as you and I have shared in recent conversation, it's missed. Like 80% of hunters are whitetail hunters. But yet when you think about the fit guy or working out, trained to hunt, you think about Utah, you think about elk hunting, you think about sheep hunting. Well, listen, dude, if I can get to my tree stand 4 minutes quicker and less sweaty, I'm going to hunt better. Like, it's a fact, dude. And like, there has been so many times where like I'm walking to a tree and yeah, we're in Kansas, dude. There is no elevation. But it's still 20 degrees outside. And when my lungs are better prepared, I can get there more successfully. And it's like, why wouldn't I want to do that? Like, why wouldn't I want to just be the best I can? And the same is true for like getting a deer in the back of your truck. Like, I love that, hey, if I need to, if nobody else is here, I can deadlift this deer and get in the back of my truck. Whereas, before my fitness journey really began, I couldn't have done that. It just wasn't in the question for me. And so, yeah, man, it's like
you become more resilient, right?
100%.
Yeah. You look at that. It's like you can go out and like get after the animals. Like, do you need to be, rip 6-pack, all that stuff to go through and kill a whitetail or kill a turkey or anything like that and get after it? No, you don't. Right.
Nope.
But how much more enjoyable would it be if you are healthy, fit? There are numerous times in the Midwest where we're going out and doing a deer drive, or, we're going up and my grandpa's going to come around and, we're going to go walk through the woods. And he's like, oh, I'll just stay here. And this whole piece is like, hey, no one's left at the trailhead, right? Like nobody left alone, like nobody left behind, like nobody's left at the trailhead. Like we're all here to go out and get into the outdoors together and move, no matter how old you are, how young you are, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
You look at that piece to where it just allows for more experiences overall, right? And whether you're dragging the deer out, you're hauling your stand in, it's winter time out. Like if you're sweating profusely, next thing you know, you're cold. Like there's a lot of different factors you don't even think that actually apply to, that would actually be benefiting you if you were more fit or more healthy. But then just also having tools that, think of the snacks. Like this is the Midwest piece. Like when I think of Midwest, like hunter, right? And I would say a majority of people do, they think the beer drinker, cheese curd eating individual, they're going to Casey's, they're going to go have the ho-hos, they're drinking the Mountain Dew. Like, it's like, what kind of stigma are we creating for ourselves? Right. That's not one I want to pass down to my kids. Yeah. Right. So like what, story are we telling right now? That's how I look at it. So,
well, and that's, dude, it's, like you said, I don't want to tell my kids that because I've got a 12-year-old. And for some reason, middle school volleyball is super competitive. I don't know why, but like we get into middle school and just playing volleyball now, and it's like, oh, we got tournaments every weekend. And we're doing all this, and we have 6 a.m. practices, and I'm like, 6 a.m. for a 12-year-old? Are you kidding me? But
Dylan wants to go
it's
spike
super
on some
competitive. I'm like, they can't even jump over the net yet, right? But no, it's super competitive, and like, I'm starting to have these conversations with my kid, and I'm like, hey, honey, like, let's go out to the garage, which is where the gym's at. Let's go out to the garage and start getting your jump higher. Let's train your legs to jump higher. She's like, you can train to jump, and I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I'm talking to her, and I'm like, sweetheart, like, if you really want to do this, like, we watch what we eat. Like, the 2 hours before a game, we're not eating pretzels and nachos and a hot dog. Like, if we want to play the best we can. All right, guys, sorry for the delay and the camera switch to this garbage Mac camera.
Technology never works when you want it to.
I don't know how your camera dies when it's plugged in to be charging, but it says battery exhausted. So, so that's just, again, we don't want to share those messages to our kids. Mm-hmm. We're preaching to them one thing, but then they watch us and they're like, but dude, you just sucked down 3 Snickers and a ho-ho at the gas station.
Yep.
And that was before dinner.
Yep.
That was on our way to dinner. Like, and so, yeah, you're 100% right, man.
Yeah, that's, at that age, and I mean, my wife and I we're expecting, our first little girl here in November. I planned that one out perfect, apparently. I did the same thing.
Here's what sucks, dude. And I had said it on like many public platforms. Like, Dylan, if you had to pick one day to hunt, what would it be? And I always said November 7th. That was always my day. And I actually, I don't remember who it was that put out this article, but basically they questioned like 10 of the most big buck known killers. Like, it was like Bill Winky and I don't even remember who all was on there now. Jeff Danker and just some dudes who just killed giants. And like 4 of them said November 7th. And then I had a kid born November 7th.
November
on the
7th,
day.
of course.
I was like, you got to be stinking kidding me.
So
you and I, guys, listen, Valentine's Day is 9 months before the rut. So
yes,
be careful what you do, boys.
Exactly. Man. But yeah, no, you look at that, like, having a new little one on the way, you having kids, like, it becomes very, very vividly clear. And I don't even, have mine yet, but I look at my 2 nephews up in Wisconsin, like, they are so involved, and life is so much, like, it's just larger than life to all of them. I was up, hunting with my 2 nephews. It was first year. My one nephew, Liam, was able to go through and, to hunt, and he came out and we went and got a doe and everything together, which was awesome. But, we spent the morning fishing, and then we went out hunting, and when we went through and I went and caught a couple smallmouth bass, and he's just like, man, Uncle Jake, you're like the fishing god, like just catching fish. I was like, yeah, don't forget that, and make sure Papa knows that too, right? Like, make sure Grandpa understands who knows. But hilarious. You do that, like, do those moments and those memories like that, like, it's just imprinting those different pieces. And one, it's so cool to be able to take those experiences out and have them out there, but also, the food you eat while you're at deer camp, right? The decisions you make in those times. Like, I'm a firm believer, like, dude, oatmeal cream pies, like, one of my goals is to come out with a level 1 bar oatmeal cream pie. And I will, like, I'm like, we're going to make this thing. And it'll be fire, because dude, I know, like, that's my vice when I go out.
You're going to start a riot, dude. Oh my gosh.
Dude, friggin'. But it's, you said earlier, you can have the donut 100%. Like, I'm still the fat kid at heart, right? I'll have, the creamy to where I can have, the ice cream pieces, but I'll enjoy an ice cream here and there with my wife, right? I'll go out and have dinner. I don't like keep myself from having, a nice dinner or steak dinner with her. I utilize, of course, like, I'll use the First Phorm app and track my macros and that in there. But even with that helps me stay a little bit more on track, to where I'll swipe things out and I'll go have dinner with her. I'll have a donut with her. I might go over a little bit, okay, cool. But we get right back on, the next day. And it's like, what, don't sacrifice the small moments that create the large memories.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, and for me, it's like, I look at I don't look at day to day. So it's like, Saturday, if Arkansas is playing, like, I'm going to be a little more strict. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That way Saturday I can have some fun. That's how I look at it. And again, I just want to enjoy life. And I have no desire, never have had a desire to be 12%, 10%, 8% body fat. Don't really care.
Right.
I want to be healthy to enjoy life with my kids, and I want to hunt a lot. That's how I live. But when you ask a guy, I asked Harv Evers, who's 82 probably, hey, how are you still able to hunt? What do you equate that to? And he said, I still resistance train every day. And I was like, dude, like, that's it right there. So how did this journey start for you? First off, let's just go, because I want to get into where training and diet collide with the hunting for you. But how did the hunting start for you? Tell me about, I know it's your grandparents, your grandpas, but tell me about that start.
Yeah. Dude, it started, very fortunate and blessed for the family that I grew up in, to where I had, grandparents, that hunted, fished. But then, grew up on a farm, the middle of Wisconsin. And my dad, he actually went to school down here in Missouri, which is wild. So he's already pointed me out in different like public land spots as I'm down here. But a lot of it came with dad. Dad was willing. And, even though I might have been an antsy little boy or things like that, like, I looked at dad as like larger than life. And like, he's my superhero. Right. And he would take me out. And I remember I couldn't tell you how old I was. I couldn't have been very old, but he would we had this little stand up at the cabin in northern Wisconsin, up Exland, Wisconsin, another small little one pump kind of corner store, which there's a trend going on with my family in that
That's
sense,
how Wisconsin is, bro.
Just get lost. Yeah, it's pretty much it. And you'll be there. But just this stand where it was a couple pallets put together, and it was just like a triangle between three trees. And I remember being wrapped up in a freaking, sleeping bag, and him freaking carrying me up the tree stand, and he'd shove me down in the corner. Right. And I'd be down there playing with a Lego or something. Right. And he'd just be like, did you hear that? Hey, it's a buck. Right. Like he'd do it. And I was like, friggin', my eyes would probably be, 10 feet wide, and there was never anything there. There was nothing there. Right. He just wanted me to be quiet. But it's a cool piece. Like dad always took time. Right. He always allowed me to go with and do those different things. To where I was able to go spend time in the tree stand, or I'd ride with him in the tractor when we were farming. And, that got for me to I actually found it the other day. I was cleaning out, my basement, and I have this, this, folder where it has literally, I have a sheet of paper that has the entire back 40 of our farm laid out. And I have every deer trail, water hole, and everything. And this is probably when I was like 11 years old. Like I had that entire thing charted. Right.
That's
where
cool.
They move, where they go. And when I was younger, like my goal was always like everyone else wanted to be police officer, firefighter, like kids want to be these different things when they grow up. And that I'm like, I'm going to be a professional hunter. And that was number one. Like I'm going to do this. And I'd watch, these different guys and different shows with dad. And that's really where the love of it all took over there. And then dad went in and got in. Dad from college always went out to Colorado with buddies, and that's where I got involved with like elk hunting and all of that. Dad actually would go out every year, and I would get so upset because it's like dad's going on this epic trip and you're not taking me with you kind of thing. Right. And I'd ask him, like, I remember I asked him when I was 6, I asked him when I was 7, and I asked him when I was 8. And when I was 8 years old, dad, because he said, nope, got to be a little bit older, right? Got to just get a little bit older and you'd be able to take care of yourself. And I literally asked him, I was 8 years old. I said, what do I got to do? I'm sure I said it differently, but it's like, what do I got to do to go with you on the trip? Right. It's like, well, you need to be able to take care of yourself. Like if something happened to dad back in the middle of nowhere, right? We're back a long ways out and something bad happens to dad. Like you have to be able to get yourself out. Do you think you could get yourself out? It's like, yeah, 100%. Right? I'm 8, right? Like, of course I can do that. He's like, all right, well, yeah. And my dad was not, he gave us opportunities as kids to go through and prove ourselves and really forge our own path in that sense. And he said, okay, well, if you want to go on the elk hunting trip this year, you have to go and you have to saddle up Asbestos, our big white mule, right? You have to saddle him up. You have to ride to the back of the big pines, which are these 400-year-old pines we had. They're about a mile across the way from the farm. You have to ride all the way out there. You have to set up your camp, put up your tent, stay the entire night by yourself, and then come back in the morning. It's like, all right, sounds good, right?
Your dad is a G, bro.
My dad is not. My buddy, a couple buddies met him on an elk trip this year, and they said, your dad would put everyone at the like Yellowstone crew to shame. Like
dad sounds like a straight up gangster, bro.
Dad is, yeah, he is.
We need more dads like Papa Arvold, that's for sure.
100%. The world would be in a better place. So, dude, I went out, I saddled up Asbestos, and this is a mule where I'd like, you push the saddle over him, right? And then I'd walk underneath his legs and strap it on, pull the saddle down, like things 28 hands high and huge compared to me at 8 years old. Then I'd grab the horn, I'd pull myself up on this thing, and sometimes I'd be able to walk him up next to something and step up onto the saddle. Packed up my saddle bags, had my tent in there, had a sleeping bag in there, rode my happy little ass all the way over to the other side of the field. And dude, I felt like the king of the mountain already. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to Colorado, right? Like we're going on this hunt. And we get out there, or I get out there, I tie up Asbestos, pack, set up my tent, get everything set perfect. I put a little fire together. I started a fire and I'm sitting out there just in my own, like being in the woods. I've always had a sense of peace. Like the dark, like nighttime will play games with me and that, or it used to, as it does for any kid. But like, I've always loved just being in the silence, right? And listening to the woods come alive when you're quiet, right? Like there's so much activity that happens that people pass by on a day-to-day basis. So I always found that fascinating, even at a young age. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to Colorado. All I have to do is sleep in my tent. I already got my tent set up. Like we're good to go. Goes in. I go into the tent, fall asleep. Like 1, 2 in the morning, one of the largest storms I've ever been a part of in my life rolls in. And it is flashing lightning, thunder, pouring rain. The wind picks up. It sounds like these pine trees are going to fall over on top of me. And I'm like, I'm not going in. This is like 1, 2 in the morning. I'm just like, I'm not going in. I'm not going in. You can make it. You can make it. I just remember talking to myself. And I'm there. And next thing I know, friggin' tent breaks over. Tent's filling with water. I'm still like, I'm not going in. I'm not going in. My sleeping bag becomes fully saturated with water. And I'm like, and I just like I'm like, I need to go. Like, I need to go in. I can't stay here. So like in this walk of shame or ride of shame, I saddle Asbestos. I look outside Asbestos. I have my headlamp. Asbestos is just standing there. He's just the big, gentle giant.
He's like, what
hanging
are you
out.
about, bro?
Yeah. He's like, what are you? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I saddle up Asbestos. And I didn't take the longest ride of shame all the way back to the house. And I remember getting back and I was Dad's been sitting on the front porch, essentially waiting. Mom's probably freaking out saying like, go get him. Right. And all this stuff. It's like, no, he's good. He'll make it. He's good. And sure enough, I ride back and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll do it again. I can do it. I can make it. And like, he's like, what'd you learn? And I was like, put my tent up better, like just make sure it doesn't fall over kind of thing as a kid. And he's like, well, we talked a little bit and I was like crying. So I was so frustrated and just upset with it. And he's like, you made it in, didn't go as planned, but you made it out. You can go to Colorado. Right. And I cloud 9. Right. So been going ever since.
Your dad is awesome, bro. I need to know your dad.
Yeah.
I see how.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know why you're on the podcast and not your dad. Like, I'm just.
Hey, it's honestly, it'd be better. It would be good.
See, dude, when you talk about like playing in the blind as a kid, like that is me as a dad. Like just last Friday, crazy cool story. I had told my son all day long, I'm like, hey, I want to take you out hunting. He's like, yeah, let's do it. He hunted with me last year, was his first year, but this year he's 5. And so like I didn't have high hopes. And like I know, and I'd already told my wife, I'm like, I'm not going to go in and like booger up number 1 spot. So like we're going to sit in a blind away from the deer movement, but we'll see a lot of deer from a ways off. And so he'll have fun. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we get home, he gets home, and I'm like, all right, bub, you ready to roll? And my daughter, who's 6, she's like, well, I'm going too. And I'm like, sweetheart, I can't take you. Like, there's no way we'll even see deer if I've got a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old in the blind. And she's like, well, how come you always take Tucker? And I'm like, because he's my bro. Like, anyways. And so I take them both. I'm like, let's do it. Let's go. And so the whole time they're sitting on the floor of the blind, like playing on an iPad and having fun. I'm like, guys, you got to be quiet. Guys, stop moving. Guys, quit standing up. Guys, don't throw that. Don't eat that. Whatever. And sure enough, like we just start seeing deer parade across there. And I'm like, they're watching deer from a ways off and they're going right by my tree stand. I'm like, man, I really wish I was actually hunting. And they're going right by my tree stand. And I'm like, but they were loving it,
Yep.
And then they both get set back down and I get them quiet. And I as soon as I get them quiet, I look up and there's a doe at 4 yards in front of us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? And so she finally turns around. So I'm like, all right, I tell Tucker, my boy, I'm like, Tucker, stand up. And so he'll like stand up a little bit. I'm like, no, stop, don't move. And then I'm like, all right, come on. So I get him up and he's looking at her. He's like, bro. And I'm like, I know. And then I get Harper halfway up and I've already got my arrow knocked. Like here's the situation that went through my head. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to torch this deer. And then I'm like, kids, we just shot a deer. And they'll still be pumped. But I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to bring my kids out to watch me shoot a deer, like I want them to see me shoot the deer. And so if I can't do it with them watching, like what's the point? And so I get Harper, like most of her head is up, but she takes the last little stand up and the deer turns and looks right at her. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like, don't. And the deer just jumps off at like 34. And I'm like, well, I still shoot at her, which is awful skittish. No, so, but it was just really cool, man. And so, kudos to your dad, dude. Like, and that's what's so hard, it's so hard. It takes extra time. Like, it takes extra work. 100%. It takes extra effort, but like, it's worth it, dude. Because somebody had to put in that extra time and effort for you. And so, like, I'm all for it, dude. I'm like, if Tucker wants to go, let's roll, dude. I'm like, you want to go kill turkeys? Let's roll. I'm taking him on a bear hunt. Like, I'm going to Idaho on a bear hunt. And, like, I'm like, hey, you're going to sleep in a wall tent for a week and eat Mountain House meals. You want to practice that for a day or 2? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, all right. And my wife's like, you're taking it bear hunting? No. I'm like, yeah, we're going to fight. But, like,
dude, those are memories. Like, you can't put a price on that.
Not
right. They're memories, they're moments. Like, you look at that, like, that's one thing, like, Dad definitely did good. It's like, it's not that he had the time, it's he made the time. And ultimately, like, it might not be the perfect scenario or might not get, the monster buck that's chasing. But honestly, like, look at, society nowadays. Like, honestly, it'd be a lot better off. I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's like if you have parents, and we live in such a day where it's go, 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 to where when we have that split second, most parents are like, oh, well, no, this is me time. Well, we want to create the bigger impact. It's like, let's go through and allow them to be a part of it, right? Not just, shove them off to have someone else watch them.
Well, and this deer here, by no means is a big deer. Honestly, though, he was the deer I was chasing because he was 8.5 years old and needed to be killed. But I took my son with me. We were in Oklahoma, and I'm like, hey, babe, I'm going to run down to the Oklahoma farm for a couple days. I'm going to take Tuck. She's like, yeah, you can't take him. He's going to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. I'm like, he'll be fine. And so we go down and hunt, and we got to shoot it, but I don't even know if this camera's good enough to even.
Yeah, I can pick it up.
But dude, that deer, it means so much to me because my son was actually with me. Like, you know, he got to see it. He got to be a part of it. He got to track it. First words out of his mouth. First words, Dad, can we eat his body? I'm like, 100% we can, bro. First words out of his mouth. Second words out of his mouth, dude, can I put his head on my wall? And I'm like, sure, bro. Let's do it.
100%. Yeah. Dude, that was my nephew's. When we went up, I got that doe with Liam. And then his little brother, Bennett, who comes out, is 5, comes out later on, helps, you know, go through the whole gutting process and all that stuff. And they're watching it. And I'm showing Liam, you know, he helped me go through and ultimately, you know, got this deer out. We go to Walmart on the way back because I just needed to get a cooler to be able to put her in. And dude, little Bennett, like larger than life. And he's got this huge personality. The checkout gal who was there, it's like, oh, what are you guys doing? It's like, we shot a deer. We pulled its guts out. It's like, I held the heart. It's like, and just like going through everything. And she's like, oh my gosh, you are so brave. You're going to have so many stories to tell your friends at school. Like,
well, dude,
he is.
I told one person that too. And Tucker, I think, was 3. And I took him out to gut a deer with me. I came back to get him. I'm like, hey, I just shot a deer. I want you to come help me find it and gut it. And the videos were hilarious of watching him watch me gut this deer. The things he said was just incredibly comical. But and I had this lady, I had her say, that's not appropriate to take a 3-year-old to watch that. And I said, well, ma'am, honestly, it would have done a lot of good for you had your dad. And my wife just goes, shut up. And I'm like, never mind, ma'am. You're probably right. Never mind.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, you just got back from an elk hunt with old Papa Arvold, who's now my hero, just so you know. How'd that go? Anybody kill anything?
Oh, man. Dude, it was a phenomenal trip. It was actually so my dad in the last 34 years, he has missed 3 years elk hunting out of those 34. So my big piece is like, I don't know how many more years I get with him doing those different things. I have a goal and a mission to take him on a special hunt that he doesn't know of. And I don't think he just doesn't know of it. So I'm not even going to talk about it in case he follows his podcast side of things or he ends up jumping on in those areas. But there's different things I want to be able to do and experiences I want to be able to have with him. So this is like this year and years moving forward. Like, I don't care what's going on with work or what's going on in life. Like, I will take that, you know, that week of time to go out and, you know, do an elk hunt or, you know, do different things. And I'd like to try to do different things with him outside of just elk hunting to have different experiences there. But he came out, with that, I actually, you know, a few other individuals who have helped just support Phorm Outdoors. I invited them to come along. So I'm like, you know what, I want to do this and create a heritage camaraderie as we build out Phorm Outdoors. And it's going to be individuals that I ultimately trust, right, along the way, that even if we don't get something, we're going to have a great time. We'll be able to go through, push hard, and have some great conversations around the campfire and just that overall camaraderie piece. So the crew was awesome. There was 9 of us total. My dad and 2 brothers ended up coming out. I had AJ, Jonathan, Dale, myself. We all went out early. We had bulls talking. They were all hung up on private land where we first went. And then we worked them for 4 days. And then we went out on a Wednesday. We hunted through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Dad was supposed to come in on Sunday. So we were going to meet him at a new spot. We decided to up camp and then go to wilderness area just outside of Glenwood Springs, and got back into some rough territory. And I was excited for that because I'm like, these guys, if they don't go through and resent me a little bit through this trip.
So like, none of them ever been on elk hunts before?
Dale and AJ had never been on an elk hunt. So it was both their personal goals, and I wanted to be able to, share that experience with them. Yeah. The other guys had gone out hunting, but had not been successful in that. We had a buddy, Joe, phenomenal dude, who actually is a local, never met him before in my life, outside of through social media. And we did pass by each other, up at the HHA USA event. And he actually helped kind of give us some pointers out there, because the zone we normally go down in southern Colorado towards Pagosa Springs, all those zones switched. So this year I was like trying to find different places, and we'll normally go out to wilderness areas just because we can go further back in, and we'll trailer the mules out from Wisconsin to pack back in. So connected with Joe, those guys, we all went out earlier, and then Dad was supposed to be out there on Sunday with my two brothers, and they got 5 miles outside of town. Drive shaft dropped out from the truck.
Oh my gosh.
They had to do that. And the guys were worried. So cause they knew that Dad was bringing mules to go further into this wilderness area kind of thing. They're like, I just looked down, I said, nah, that's all right. They'll have it welded up and fixed in the next day. So they'll be on their way. Don't worry. They're freaking out. Like, what are they going to do? I was like, they'll get it figured out. So they ended up doing that on the trip out as well. They got into the pass, coming up through the pass and everything, ended up having a fuel pump go out on the truck. So that took another day. They had to go through, fix that piece. They got out on Wednesday. So we were able to connect up with them. At that point, we had already hiked in to the wilderness area. And dude, we didn't end up getting anything, but I'm super pumped to be able to share the story. I had a buddy come down from Idaho and film the whole thing. And then my brother, Nick, who's a phenomenal photographer, videographer, he came out and he's actually putting together an entire story from everything we captured through the weekend or through the week. And, but before the family got out there, I took the crew of guys out, and I worked them really good. Dale and AJ and all the guys learned what bivouacking was, just right under the stars, sleeping bag. That, you should see the looks on the face. I can't wait, because we have it all filmed. It's we're doing what? It's yeah, just roll it out. No tents. We're going up. We're going to be going right up that tomorrow morning, because we hiked in the dark, got to a spot to where I wanted to be able to jut up into a saddle, and we bivouacked it there. Next morning, got up. Dale's face, he's like, that was not fun. You could tell he didn't get much sleep through that piece.
That's funny. Did AJ bring coffee though? At least, he had.
He brought 10 bags.
Okay,
he brought all the coffee.
If not, we were going to issues.
Yeah. Oh, there would have definitely been. That was my dad's one rule was, if AJ was going to come along, he had to go through and bring the coffee for camp kind of thing. Yeah. So AJ made good on that. There was a point that next morning when we hiked up, AJ ranged. So we went up through this, looking at the whole trip itself, I want to be able to do hard things, and we're going to get where most people won't go. And we went up through this, spot that was definitely the closer the lines are on the topo, don't think that means, it's easier to walk, because it's not. It's just steeper, just so everyone knows. I knew that before going into it, and a lot of the guys did too, but I'm we'll just wedge our way straight up here. Quickest way between is straight lines. So we went up. AJ ranged Dale in front of him at one point in time, and he was at a 45-degree angle up with the rangefinder, he was doing that through his piece. And there was one moment where I thought to myself, I'm this really isn't that smart, Jake.
Did we make the right decision here?
Did I? Yeah, exactly. I was because there was one, we were using a trekking pole, pulling each other up the rock face to get to the next sledge to go up.
Libre?
Oh, bro. 100%.
I'm going into the wilderness, probably to die.
To die. I freaking love it.
That was what
I just want a salad or something.
At that point,
100%. Dude, AJ, out of everyone who was there, AJ was the golden retriever of the entire thing. I'd turn around, AJ would just be there Like just
Hey,
my big
guys.
ass, like this green. Yeah. What's up? He's like, where are we going now? And I was like, I turned around. He always had a big grin on his face.
I'm the one in the back.
Yeah.
This is freaking stupid. Why are we still going?
Dude. Why are we still? This was, that was Jonathan. Definitely at a moment. He was probably cursing my name inside of his head. He was definitely having conversations in it. But everyone had a good time. Like we got up there, we got to camp, set it up. I was like, we got an hour and a half left before dark. I'm like, let's go up to this meadow, just kind of call, do a locator, see if we can find anything. We got up to this meadow and literally I let a bugle go and then one bugled right off over into the ravine towards the little creek bottom. Bugled there. I was like, I look at the guys, like wanting them to get back. So we're on this edge of the meadow. I look over and here's 4 of them standing right out in the middle of the meadow. I'm like, guys, like, they don't know kind of thing. I was like, I literally had to walk up and say, guys, get your ass back. Like, let's come here. Right. And I said, we need to get into the shadows, find some, don't stand in the light. Right.
Yeah.
And so I positioned them all. And this is happening in a matter of really seconds. And I positioned, it was Jonathan, AJ, and then Dale. And I turn around and I'm walking off. So I left them on this wood line of this little meadow and I'm going to go bugle. And I was trying to find a tree so I could rake, just to create some noise and everything. And I bugled and chuckled. And as I chuckled, this bull cut me off bugling. So I didn't hear him bugle, but all of a sudden I turn around because I hear Joe and I look at Joe and Joe is down on all fours. And he's like, Jake, Joe's like 20 yards from me. And he's like, there's a bull. And I was like, huh? And I kind of look up. He's like, there's an effing bull. Like, he's just like straight up. I was like, oh. And I look and here's just rack coming up into the meadow, like just dark. And all I hear is whack go down. And I was like, literally everything happened so fast. And then bull goes off crashing. Like this thing came out majestic. He was covered in mud, just got out of a wallow, all this stuff, took off. I go up, Dale, I'm trying to figure out what all just happened, right? Because I literally turned around and all these things took place. And Jonathan was apparently 20 yards standing in front of him, just stuck like this, range finding him. He's just staring him in the hairy eyeball. Jonathan was between me and him. And then there was AJ who had no idea what he's like.
He's
I
just
don't even know what to
coffee,
do.
Bro.
Yeah. He was probably he was brewing the coffee for the victory lap. And then Dale was the one who ended up sending an arrow and pulled up. The reaction Dale had was phenomenal. Unfortunate enough, we were not able to recover the bull. We watched the video over and over and over again through it. The bull came up on Dale. It was 24 yards away, quartering to him front on. And Dale ended up he's done the shot numerous times. He said, it's funny that morning he said, I'm going to get a bull 20 yards. Cause we did a little cap of how the day is going to go. He said, I'm going to get a bull 20 yards frontal, this time kind of thing. Cause he's done that before. He literally, spoke that into existence, but it was quartering to him versus being 100% on, and it hit hard. And all I can think about is what happened is he did not aim far enough back to get good vitals and had it to where it went through a hollow spot and essentially hit the scapula on the other side. And in 180 yards, we let him go. We let him sit throughout the night, all that stuff. In 180 yards, we found 1 drop of blood. And we literally grid searched that entire mountainside the entire next day. It was just we even came back. We looked, trying to find birds, all this different stuff, everything you could do in that position. You could definitely tell it ate Dale alive for that piece. It was just you never want that scenario, right? In any way, shape, or form. And in the heat of the moment, there was a lot of good lessons that ultimately came from that. But the aspect of the camaraderie, the community, everything of that experience. And honestly, like Dale's he's had a lot of time to think and reflect and all those different pieces. And now he sits with that kind of piece to where he has like a hunger to go back and ultimately make it right in that side. I believe the animal went on to live. I don't think it was a fatal shot itself. After watching the video over and over again and just kind of seeing the angle on things, Joe, who's done guiding and hunting for a long time too, he ultimately said after, 10 hours of grid searching, like, he's like, honestly, guys, like, I don't think the thing's actually passed. So hoping for the best in that scenario.
Yeah, that sucks, man. That does suck. But at the same time, like, one time somebody asked me, do you want that to happen when you're with your boys or when you're alone? Because there's kind of, and if you really think about it, you're like, well, I want my boys there. But then you're like, well, do I want to be embarrassed? And then it's like, well, do I want to be alone? Like, so friends have a way of comforting you through it. And so I'm glad you guys were there, for sure.
Yeah. Well, with that, it's like, if you hunt long enough and you're a part of it long enough, like whether it's a little twig that goes through and deflects an arrow or things of that nature, like it's bound to happen. You train, and I know Dale he's a stellar shot, and like he'd go through and make that shot in different areas. I'm sure he'd changed some things since going through it, but no one hopes or wishes for that to happen in those areas. But I definitely, in that scenario, it's like you go through and you hunt. And definitely being there. I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I could share that moment because there was definitely highs and lows, and there was definitely a bonding piece through that, just the struggle overall. But it was in the worst case scenario possible, it was still a great experience to be able to share those different moments with them. Yeah,
absolutely. And that is too, the lessons are a lot easier to learn when people are there too to help you point those things out. Because there's times where if it happens alone, you're like, oh, dude, I don't know what happened. She's dead somewhere. He's dead somewhere. I hit it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you have someone there, they could say, well, hey, here's what we should take from that, Maybe you overcompensated for the angle of the way the elk was standing. Or maybe you overcompensated for the height of the tree stand if you're in a tree stand,
Mm-hmm.
And those guys can help you learn from that situation. So, Before we go, man, tell us about the Experience More podcast. What's your mission there? Like, what do you do with that?
Oh man, throw me on the spot.
Give it to us.
Not really a spot. Yeah. I started that podcast to look at bringing people together and ultimately having good quality individuals within the podcast to experience more of the outdoors. Live a Lifestyle allows you to experience more of the outdoors with the friends, the family, the people that you love to experience it with. And I believe that there are stories that can be told. There's methods, there's gear, there's tons of different things that ultimately allow us to go out and experience more of the outdoors. It's rooted in the living a healthy, fit, active lifestyle. It's something I've always wanted to do. It's funny, like how it even came to be was I've talked about a podcast and doing one over the last 2-3 years. And, it's great to talk about it, but how about be about it? And to have a partner who enforces that upon you is a great thing. I came home one random day from work and she just had a random gift on the counter and everything for me, and a card that, I opened it up and it read truth or dare. The truth is you've been talking about this for far too long. I dare you to actually go through and start it. And it was a mic. It was a blue mic. So it was a podcast mic with her and a little truth and dare to go out and actually start the podcast. From that moment, I was like, all right, well, I need to make this happen. I went and talked to a couple buddies. And I'm a big believer in like accountability, back yourself up against the wall. And, if you're going to do something, like tell the world that you're going to go through and do it, to where at the end of the day, it's like, you better do it or else you're just a hypocrite. And told somebody, said, hey, I'm going to start this podcast. This is when I want it done by. Just hold me accountable, make sure it happens. And the date was, I believe it was December 28th, just a random day. And December 28th rolled around and my one of the buddies that I told sent me a text. He said, "Hey, how's that podcast going?" I was like, "Shit, son of a," and I was like at 6 p.m. I get this text message. I was up until 2 a.m, figured out how to go through, got things put together, how to do like the, garage band. Like I literally figured it all out. I just did a one-time shot, like straight through, winged it for the first episode, went on, hit it, sent it. And that was where it ultimately all started. And I think about that as like, it's a good piece to it is surround yourself by good individuals who do hold you accountable, who, push you to go try and do new things. And that you can have great conversations around a campfire. You can go out, experience the outdoors, go hunting, fishing. There's a lot of facets to it. I just think like there's so many things that play into experiencing more of the outdoors. And I don't want it to just be my stories, but like yourself, like I'd love to be able to go through. Definitely going to have you on it at some point in time in the aspect of like what's allowed you to experience more of the outdoors. Whether that's, individuals you've had in your life, situations, stories, like there's a lot of things we can all learn from each other there.
See, my introduction to podcasts was a lot more fast and fierce, I'd say. And so at the time I was filming a TV show from Osseo, and I get a phone call from a random person. They said, "Hey, this is so-and-so with Powder Hook." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "Your name was given to me because we've been told that you film a TV show and that you're a preacher." And I was like, "Okay." I still didn't know where he was going with this. And he said, "Well, you film a TV show.
What is this?
Obviously, you're a hunter and you hunt a lot. And if you can preach, that means you can talk. So we want a podcast."
There you go.
I'm like, "Okay." And then like, "Start this week." I'm like, "Okay." And so I started doing a podcast. And it's actually this same podcast. Powder Hook was a good partner of Bear Archery's. And Powder Hook ended up getting bought out by basically the state agencies that you buy your licenses from. So it was going to become very political. And so Powder Hook gave me the ability to take the podcast and make it my own. And I got Bear involved. And so all those old episodes were just done away with, erased, and vanished because we wanted to start it under the Bear Archery name. But that's kind of how I got my start. And it just happened like a random phone call on a Tuesday afternoon. And I was just like, sure, I guess.
Hey, but that's one of those doors that just opens up. And it's like the opportunity where it's like, you could have said no, but hey, you know what? Door opened, you walked right through. And here you are today.
Yeah,
it's pretty
absolutely. Awesome. Now, is the First Phorm gym open for anybody to come work out? Like, is it an open gym?
So it's not an open gym to the public. Like, it's not like a, hey, scan in or, just come in, buy like a day pass, thing like that. Definitely, we have an open door policy in the sense of like, hey, let us know ahead of time. Like if you want to come in to headquarters or, be able to see the place, learn a little bit more. All we ask is like people reach out ahead of time to be able to go through and like set things up. We have a very high end piece of security within it, just because Andy with his podcast and different individuals who come into the facility, definitely like say if you wanted to come in, just letting know ahead of time. All right, come in and be a part of that. For ATA this year, I'm wanting to go through and put just like a community workout and everything together for everyone who's out at that. Just
ATA
kind of put different things out.
That's why I asked.
Okay.
Just because, I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this podcast are going to be at ATA. So that's what I was going to say is guys, jump over and check out First Phorm if you're going to be at ATA. I can imagine the facility, just seeing what's behind you and what I've seen in videos, it seems like a phenomenal facility. So I can't wait to get in there and work out. I've been told we got a leg day with Josh Carney, so that's going to be fun. It's going to be a riot.
Yay. That would be, dude. Yeah. Well, so that'll be an interesting podcast when we do that.
We're literally going to have Josh Carney out to the next Pope and Young convention to just do a comedy night. Just stand up and make it laugh for an hour.
Dude.
Guy is phenomenal.
Awesome.
So it's going to be a good time. Where all can they follow you and where all can they find First Phorm Outdoors?
Yeah, you can find me across the board at just Jake Arvold, at Jake Arvold. It's ARVOLD for the last name there. Really there for Instagram, Facebook, even going into TikTok, YouTube, and then the podcast, Experience More podcast. And then of course it's First Phorm Outdoors, just all one word across the board on Instagram. We have some stuff. You go on to First Phorm's YouTube, you can find different First Phorm Outdoors pieces and renditions in there as well. But any you guys ever have questions, any way, shape, or form I can ever help, or anything, across the board that you're wondering about, just even my journey in it or First Phorm Outdoors, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I have an open door policy, and I just want to be able to see people go out, have fun with it. If you're in the St. Louis area, you can DM me, reach up there. That's cool there, especially as ATA comes along the line. Biggest thing is going to just letting us know ahead of time. So as different kind of security pieces come up, we do have building number 2, just got built. Building number 3 will be more of a community piece, and that'll be opening up early 2024 as well. And that'll have more of the community gym setting and all that. So
very cool.
Guys, if you're a traditional archer and you have not checked out Three Rivers Archery, what are you waiting for? Three Rivers Archery is your one-stop shop for all things traditional archery. They have the largest in-stock selection of traditional archery equipment anywhere. Same-day shipping, very, very, very knowledgeable. Listen, I use Three Rivers all the time. If I've got a question on tuning, if I've got a question on broadheads, if I've got a question on brace height or anything like that, I use Three Rivers for everything. They know the products because they use the products. Three Rivers Archery is by far the gold standard when it comes to traditional archery. So guys, if you're just getting into traditional archery, I would encourage you to use Three Rivers as a resource for knowledge and understanding and growing and learning, and as a place to get all those products that you're going to be needing as you take this journey.
And guys, like I said, there's a link in the description of the episode. If you want to shop First Phorm, click that link. And if you have any questions about what I use, why I use it, or how I use it, like I said, send me a message, send me a text, whatever. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Oh, Kim Possible. So,
Ron Stoppable.
Yeah, you guys know where to find me at. So just reach out to me and ask me why I use it, what's my favorite flavor. It's peanut butter.
Through beer float. Oh, bars. Okay. All right.
So anything you want to know, guys, if I don't know the answer, I know a guy who does. So, but guys, thank you so much for listening. You guys have fantastic